here's a breakdown of Chapter 13 and how it works. So Chapter 13 is where you make payments over a period of time towards your debt. The people that usually want to file Chapter 13 or need to file Chapter 13 are people who have assets that are unexempt. So if they filed Chapter 7, the trustee would liquidate some of their assets to pay their debts. So they want to keep their assets. In Chapter 13, you can keep your assets, but you have to make payments to cover the equity in those assets that the creditors would have gotten in a Chapter 7. So that's one. Two is higher income earners. Your income and expenses at the end of the month, there's money left over to pay towards debt, then you can't do Chapter 7. Usually you have to do Chapter 13. The other type of person who would need to file bankruptcy are people who have debts that they're behind on that they need time to catch up on. It happens a lot with foreclosure. So if somebody's facing foreclosure, they're behind, $15,000, $20,000 in their mortgage payments, and they don't have the money to catch up. You can catch up over time using that Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So you make payments over the term of your plan and then pay your mortgage arrears, and they can't foreclose as long as you're making all your payments. We also sometimes see Chapter 13s where people are just making really high debt payments, even though they're current. They just have such high payments because of the interest. They're not making any progress, not paying down the debt, just kind of drowning. In Chapter 13, we can lower the payment for them because there's no interest. So sometimes it can be a significant drop in payment that you pay every month if you're doing a Chapter 13. And then at the end of that time period, then you're done. You have no debt, as opposed to paying and paying and paying and never getting out of debt. So that can benefit people in that way. But what determines what you're going to pay in the Chapter 13? The minimum payment is usually has to do with either how much money you have left over at the end of the month or the amount of assets that are unexempt. So you have to pay to your creditors as much as they would have gotten in a Chapter 7 if assets were sold. And then if you're an income earner, you have to pay all your disposable income. So if you have money left over, that does have to go towards your debt after you've paid all your reasonable and necessary expenses. For something like a foreclosure case, you have to pay at least back all of your arrears. So you can't pay it partially. It has to be all paid. That same goes with priority undischargeable taxes. They have to all be paid within that time period. And what determines if you're in a 3-year repayment plan or a 5-year repayment plan is your income. We look at the median income for your household size in your state, and then based on the last 6 months, if you're above the median income, you do have to pay 5 years. If you're below, you only have to pay the 3 years. Obviously, a lot of people only have to pay 3, but they need the 5 to either pay enough to pay off their assets or pay enough to pay back their arrears, type of thing. If this is something that seems like it might help you out, you should definitely talk to an attorney in your area to see if you can benefit from this very powerful tool.